In a couple of sentences, what do you think? Why are your hands trembling? Why are your hands trembling? What are you afraid of? Okay, where are we?
Australia.
We're in Australia.
Sydney.
It's a great place. Okay. Australia's response to COVID was wise. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Okay, and the dog did not move. Okay, yes, I agree. She strongly disagrees. Okay, how did Australia respond to COVID? Tell them.
We had lockdowns. We gave people vaccines. We told people to socially isolate. And yeah.
And what do you mean by socially isolate?
Well, for a while we told people to stay at home and stay away from other people if they were positive for COVID. And I think that's a good thing because being around other people while you have COVID is probably bad. Like it would probably increase the spread of COVID, and I think isolation is good at preventing the spread.
Yeah. Okay, so you're on the slightly disagree or the neutral? You're on the neutral. Usually we have tape. Sorry. Yeah. Australia's response to COVID was why? Say why are you neutral?
I guess it's because things changed so much. I'm not quite sure of the question because there were so many changes right at the beginning, towards the middle, towards the end. We had 2 years of it. It was really all over the place, which is what happens with science. Things change, we learn more. So I'm just not sure. That's why I stayed on neutral, because I think some things had good intentions, but with the benefit of hindsight, wasn't that a great idea? So does that make sense?
I think so. I'm still trying to work it because obviously I'm not from Australia. Yeah. So you're on the slightly disagree that Australia's response to COVID was wise. What did Australia do?
My memory is that there were lockdowns, especially in major capital cities, where one wasn't supposed to leave the house for reasons that weren't necessary, and those were decided for us. There was mandatory mask wearing in public areas, and there were also restrictions on who could have access to certain services if depending on vaccination status.
And which of those things do you disagree with?
I'll try not to make this a long story. I'm quadruple vaxxed. I was all the way behind it. I was, shut up and locked down. But then I was taken over to Western Australia for work, which was like the Hermit Kingdom. It was glorious. And that was to Mark McGowan, the Premier, that was to his credit in that he locked the borders down. But I did see how that was affecting people over there. And also I did a road trip and I saw some people who were basically COVID refugees, in that they refused to have the vaccination and they had lost their jobs. They were now on the road with their kids out of school, home, or, camper van schooling. And it really made me realise that this was probably incredibly heavy-handed, especially now in light of information coming through about the lack of effectiveness of mask wearing and vaccinations. I feel a little bit lied to.
Okay, let's do this. So we're going to reset the claim. Australia should have mandated masks. In other words, mandatory masks. Think about it for a second. Don't move until I say move. That rule does not apply to the dog. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. You can stay in the neutral. That's 100% okay. No. It's good. So you're in the agree. Tell her why you agree that Australia should have mandated masks.
This one is actually kind of hard. I was deciding between slightly agree and agree. From I guess the one study I kind of read on masks, it seems that masks do a really good job of reducing the spread of COVID. So, I forget the numbers, but like, I think they did a study like in an enclosed room, and it like wearing masks did reduce the spread or the amount of particles that were like released into the air by quite a lot. And also anecdotally, I've seen like those clips on Instagram or like on YouTube where like you can see like the vapors coming out of the mask. And to me, that was kind of just like...
So you think they work and you think they should have been mandated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what do you think? Oops, sorry.
I'm going off what I've just seen from media sources that I have been following, mainstream media sources, which I've never strayed outside the mainstream media until very recently, and that was to do with sex self-ID in Australia. And so the scales have fallen from my eyes when it comes to trusting media organisations. And so I am now seeing through those same media sources that said absolutely the masks are completely effective. I'm now seeing them now change tack on that story with information that was available at the time. So I am now somewhat, not even agnostic, I'm bamboozled. Until I see that there is real evidence.
Okay.
That, until I see there is going to be evidence from sources that I trust, I am not going to say that that I think masks should be worn and must be worn.
Okay. I'm not going to go to you because I'm going to reset the claim. Oh, yeah.
The reason that I stayed neutral is, again, what I was saying previously, the information changes, which it does as more information comes to hand, but it's that as well. At the beginning, we were told by America, I think it was Fauci at the time, you don't need masks, right? And I'm like, hang on, in Asia, they've been wearing masks for every outbreak that they have, so that's weird advice. When you're a surgeon, you have to wear a mask, so why are they saying you don't need to wear a mask? It's fine. And then we found out, it's because there was a shortage of masks, and so the people who really needed them. So you go, okay, so they're going to lie to us that masks aren't effective to stop a panic rush buy of masks for the people who need them, and then they're going to say, oh, no, they are effective. I just was like, what is it? Like, you don't trust us enough to not make a run, which is justified. They don't trust us to not make a run because you saw what happened with the toilet paper. So that's why I'm neutral. I read one article that says, yes, they're very effective. And then I read another article, oh, no, not very effective. And these are from both reputable instances. In my own mind, I think it makes sense that they would be effective. But again, there's no, like this lady said, there's no proof that I can see. Welcome to Newtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's reset it to the neutral. The dog can stay there. She never changes her mind. She's a very disagreeable dog, but a good dog. You're a good dog. Mainstream media is trustworthy. Mainstream media is trustworthy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Tell us why you agree, and which stations, etc., are you talking about mainstream media? Which ones?
It's not so much that mainstream media...
Tell them.
It's not so much mainstream media is like the source for all information. I think it's as trustworthy as other sources of media. So like independent media, I feel like should be weighted in a similar way to mainstream media. I feel like mainstream media is like, it still has some semblance of trustworthiness because, these are large corporations. These are like, multi-level, like very complex systems that I think a lot of the time when people criticize mainstream media, they kind of forget that there are heaps of checks in place and like, it's not just one person and it's like, there's a level of accountability in media. I feel like that gets unduly crapped on a lot.
Okay. What are your thoughts about mainstream media? Tell him.
Yeah. So I sort of work in the media, so arts, entertainment, things like that. And there was this really amazing ABC journo that I used to work with, and he would do media training with a bunch of academics. It was really eye-opening. And I remember he put up a whiteboard, and he put a dot in the middle of the whiteboard, and he said, like, tell me what's on the board, and people would guess. And they'd all get it wrong. And then he'd say that dot is the truth. And media organisations are telling the truth, but as you can see, there's a whiteboard, there's a wall, there's all these other things going on. So yes, media tells the truth, but they only often they tell the truth. Sometimes they outright lie, but most of the time they're telling the truth, but they're only telling a portion of the truth. And that's why I strongly do distrust the media. And especially given my job, I edit and I interview people. So I do this every day. So everything I read and watch, I just go, what did they cut out? Yeah.
Okay. Oops, sorry. I love how resolute she is.
she's very epistemologically thorough. So same question?
Yeah.
2 days ago, I would be over there.
Two days ago? What happened in the last 2 days?
Well, some women got together to speak in Melbourne, and I know some of these women. I know we're not Nazis. We're mostly left-wing. That said, it's an incredibly broad church. There's women from all sides of politics. And they just got together to talk about the reality of what self-sex ID laws, which we're about to get in New South Wales, but they were they're very entrenched in Melbourne. And these women got together to just talk about the effects of that on their lives. And I'm not going to go into it because it's not about that. Well, I will actually.
Posie Parker,
yep, bringing it out, and she really lifted a rock, and I saw what's slithering underneath, because I saw the way constantly these women's rights activists have just been defamed,
called Nazis,
just because
because they don't want.
Yeah, well, because also it was. It was a protest about women not wanting men in women's changing rooms, in their single-sex spaces, in their prisons, in their sexual assault and domestic violence crisis centres, and not wanting gay kids to be sterilised to fit to some sort of regressive gender conform ideas.
And how did the media portray that?
Well, the women were branded as Nazis. It's absolutely flabbergasting. It is so untrue. Firstly, they said we're anti-trans, which we're not. We're pro-women. But also because some asshole goose-stepping
in the background,
turned up on the sidelines, the media jumped on that and went, see, Nazis. It's like, I can watch it with my own eyes. I know these women, some of these women, mostly electronically, some of them in person. So to see that...
They don't hate Jews.
No, surprisingly not, yeah. And I should tell my grandmother, my dead grandmother, I'm sorry. Turns out that I don't hate you. To see that and to see how it affected a cause that I think is incredibly worthy, and to see how it was framed deliberately, I believe. Got another dog with opinions.
That's okay. That's good.
No,
that's fine. She's entitled to her opinion. It's a free country.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So to see that really changed my mind. I now realise that no, there is a paucity of good Australian journalism.
Okay. So do you know what she's talking about or what she's referring to?
Vaguely. Yeah.
Did anything she say change your mind, or anything she say, either one of those two individuals say, that would cause you to move one line to the slightly agree? If not, that's fine too.
I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, you can think about it. Let's reset real quick. Let's reset to the neutral. I love how the dog just does not move. That's good. Just good girl. Just stay there. Okay. Female-only spaces should exist. Female-only spaces should exist. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move.
I mean, you have your own opinion.
She has her opinion. Oh, she's really changing her mind here. Okay, so you're in slightly agree?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us why you slightly agree that they exist.
Okay, so I used to go out with somebody who, a bloke, and he disagreed with McIver's ladies' baths. Do you know McIver's ladies' baths?
No, I don't. I know.
These really beautiful baths in Coogee, and it was, I think, started by a bunch of nuns so that women could go and swim. And because, nuns, they need to be modest and stuff, so they could still swim and enjoy nature and not be worried about the man folk looking. And he was like, oh, that's unfair. And I went, I guess it is unfair, but it's also really nice. But it made me think then, I wonder, it's a tricky one, because also on the flip side of that, there was a men's space. I can't remember what it was. It's somewhere in Sydney, and I remember going. It was a men's only space, and it got into a lot of trouble because they tried to allow women access because they were saying that a lot of blokes were making backroom deals, and as happens when you're allowed to network.
Like golf, I'm told. I don't play golf, but I'm told.
Chicks play golf. This was like a men's club in Sydney, and it was a big thing, and women were granted access. And I remember going in there and feeling, I sort of felt, I don't know.
What word did you use?
I don't know, I felt like I shouldn't be there, because I feel like if I get to have McIver's women's baths, which, by the way, I don't think we do anymore, because there was a gentleman who says that they self-ideas. Anyway, that's going into something else. So I'm not sure. Wait a sec.
Someone self-ID as a woman, they try to get in.
Yeah, and I think
that's exactly what we're talking about. Whether or not there should be women's only spaces.
Yeah.
Female only spaces.
So if we agree, this is where my bias lies, because how do I answer that honestly? Because yes, as a female, I want female only spaces, but then that should be granted to men as well. It's not fair that there are not male-only spaces. I remember there was a female gym as well, Fernwood Gym. So if we agree that there should be female-only spaces, I always try to think of the opposite argument to my belief. And if I can't justify male-only spaces, how can I justify female-only? It's a tricky one for me. How do you know how many?
Let's ask. What do you think?
I completely agree. I think there need to be male-only spaces. I think it's incredibly important. And yeah, I think back in the 70s, understandably, so many men's groups were about backroom deals, and therefore breaking down those men-only spaces was about getting women access to employment opportunities and business opportunities. But the mistake was not seeing where this was going to go.
Where's it going to go?
Well, where it is now, which is any man who says, I am a woman, magically thinks the thoughts, is allowed into women's changing rooms. And that's...
I don't mean to be glib, but like for someone watching, it's like, what would the problem with that be with a guy in a woman's changing room?
Well, it's about safety, privacy, dignity, and especially with women's sports, fairness. And you cannot, it's just ingrained into it. I'm sorry, millennia more of evolution has taught us, rightly as women, to be, as a survival instinct, wary of men, because not all men are dangerous, but there are enough that we need to have those spaces where there isn't that thought of, oh shit, are they going to, is that guy a threat? And to take away all of those barriers. And this goes for men as well. Men deserve their own, what's great in Australia, we have things called men's sheds.
I have no idea what that is. What is that? What is it?
It's fantastic. It's for men in the community to get together if they haven't got great friends groups, or often, this happens a lot with men when they've got great marriages, not so great marriages, but also great marriages, that they kind of whittle away their social circle, their friend group.
Men's sheds. SHEDS.
Mm-hmm. They get together. I don't know what they do there. It's not my business. Woodwork, things like that. I'm encouraging my dad to do it. He's just my stepmother has just passed away, and he's realising, I should probably go there. And I'm like, yeah, we need spaces where we can spend time with people with our own sex. And it's not sexist to say so.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, you know how when you just said not all men. So about 10 years ago, I remember there was a thing when the left hadn't gone completely crazy. And I would have said I was part of that. And it was like a cartoon series. So whenever somebody was talking about male violence, they'd be somebody jumping through the window with Superman, but it'd say, not all men. So it's this sort of joke that you couldn't talk about male violence because the right wing would say, not all men, as though they don't understand, bell curves. And now it's flipped. And so the argument is, so the same people that were then saying, these people not, there's always a Superman coming in to say not all men. Now they're doing exactly the same thing with female spaces and going, these stupid TERFs are saying, not all men. It's amazing to see just in 5-10 years, the flip. And I'm just there going, hang on, I haven't changed. I'm sure I haven't changed. Yeah.
They've left us.
Who's the they?
The left. The left, who are supposed to be about women's rights and about women's dignity, women's safety. They were supposed to be supportive of us. And there's nothing like realising your own side, just like realising with journalism, your own side, voices you trusted, people you trusted, leaders you trusted, looking at you, Dan Andrews, have all along really not cared. They've just done it because it looked good on the CV and on the tweet, on the
kind of virtue signaling, a kind of signaling to others that I'm a good person. I believe that.
Absolutely, but when it comes down to it, of just give us back our sex-based rights, it's too hard.
I think that we've got more in common than we have that separates us. We get put in boxes, but I really feel like was it Jonathan Hyde that came up with the 5? Was it Jonathan Hyde that came up? Was it the Righteous Mind? Yes, thank you. This just show us that we've got underlying moral values that are the same. So I almost wonder whether that left idea of calling TERFs Nazis and stuff still comes from a position of trying to protect the underdog. There's still, I don't know. I look at it and I see the same. I see the right and the left, they swap, but the underlying morals are often the same. They're just being expressed in really odd, disparate ways.
Sounds like you care about the harm of females versus other people might care about the oppression of trans women.
Exactly. It's like the oppression hierarchy again. Or what was the oppression? What was it?
Olympics.
What did they say at the beginning of feminism? They called it the oppression Olympics or something. Who could be the most oppressed? So I feel like
yeah, that's a great.
Yeah. So these are hard acts to follow. Do you have any thoughts?
I'm actually going to change my position here.
So what is it that caused you to change your opinion?
It was actually more realization of what the claim was. So the claim was, I support, or there should be female-only spaces. I think I think I'd slightly agree because I think there should be women-only spaces. I think trans women are women. And it's not that, obviously a large portion of women are females, but, I think I'd be more comfortable with the statement. I think there should be women-only spaces.
All right, let's reset to the neutral. The dog's doing great. You say the dog made you do it. Okay, new claim. Trans women are women. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Now, so let me ask you a question. No. Let me ask you a question. If there were no camera on you, where would you have stood?
Right here.
Okay. Tell us tell us why you don't think trans women are women. A couple of sentences. What do you think? Why are your hands trembling? Why are your hands trembling? What are you afraid of?
Okay. What am I afraid of?
Yeah.
Well, because because how do I explain what I'm afraid of? Because I don't particularly want to be called a Nazi. Because I know, I agree with I agree with both of you. This is my problem. I feel like I'm a centrist and I can understand both sides of the argument. I certainly don't want to, in 20 years' time, watch this and go, oh shit, I was wrong.
So that's interesting.
One of my favorite books, which you can't get anymore, is Brain Sex by Moi and right. And that book got cancelled because they used the words normal and abnormal in the scientific context. The reason I read it was because I didn't feel like a proper feminine woman, and I was like, what am I? And that book was really great to understand that you can be female and have masculine. You can be a tomboy. I was a tomboy. What terrifies me about all this stuff, and it's probably really egocentric and selfish and all this sort of stuff, is I freak out. If this stuff had been around when I was a kid, I think my mum, it wouldn't have happened because my mum's really sensible, but I think I would have been such a target for this shit. It scares the crap out of me, and
You think that you would have been given hormones and have your...
No, I think that I think most people worry about who they are, what they are, what that means, especially as a kid when there's hormones running crazy. And even it takes ages. Like I'm 40 something and I'm still like, who am I? And I think as a kid, that's even heightened. If somebody says, oh, all those feelings of feeling not part of the girls group or whatever group you are, all those feelings that you have about feeling out of place, there's a reason for that and we can fix it. I just worry that I would have been a mark for that.
Okay, so
the reason that I disagree is because at my current understanding, until they come up with a brain scan or a body scan to prove that our brains are different and these poor people have the wrong brains in their body, which I can't, currently scientifically I can't understand that. My understanding of what a female is and what a male is, you cannot, as hard as it is for people who are truly dysphoric or truly trans, as hard as it is for them, I cannot cede my ground on this because it's so dangerous to cede your ground on this. I think a female and a male are two different things. And if you've got dysphoria, until there's a proof that, like I said, your brain is actually different, I can't see how we could say that person is a woman or a man.
Okay, let me do one thing. Let me do a thing. So one of the things that she said that I want to draw attention to is that her hand was shaking. You saw that, and that this is a popular place for dogs, and that she was concerned that people would smear her and call her a Nazi and other terrible things. Do you acknowledge that happens?
Yeah.
And does it bother you that the people who would probably stand on the strongly agree line would be the ones to do that?
Could you rephrase that?
Yeah, like that. She was obviously I don't want to say upset. I don't want to put. I'm trying to frame this as descriptively as I can. She was nervous and worried that she'd be smeared or called a name or something by the people who would stand on probably the strongly agree line. Does it bother you or upset you that people who share that opinion would smear other people like that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So we now need to figure out the best definition of woman. Okay, so come back to the neutral. I'm just going to go in line. The best definition of a woman is... Oh, and then we can look on the board here. Here we have cheats. An adult human female, anyone who is sufficiently feminine, anyone who identifies as one, anyone who feels like one. For example, a male who has gender dysphoria. So look at these, take a second to look at these.
Is that fair? Is there a different one?
Yeah, if you want to add another one, we'll add that too.
I feel like the definition of a woman is actually really difficult. I don't think you can really put it down on a card. I think it's more like a discussion. I guess like if you wanted me to answer the question, I can pick one.
No. We're gonna have another one. It's
Too complex to define.
too complex to define.
I think that'd be.
Okay, so there are 5 things here. Do you have to go?
I have to go. Sorry.
Oh,
I
okay.
have to go for something. What time is it? 10 to 6.
Okay, real quick. Let's do this one. The best definition of a woman is what? 1, adult human female, too complex to define. All right, she has to go, but do you have any questions, any final thoughts?
If we flip it, the best definition of a woman, of a man, sorry, would it still be the same answer? So if you just get rid of that.
Yeah.
It would be an adult human male.
Yeah. Well, obviously, sorry. It's to choose the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd still say 1.
I'd still say 1, yes.
Okay. Is there anything I should have asked you, but I didn't ask you, first of all? Real quick.
In regards to what?
In regard to anything of the conversation, should I have asked you something that I didn't ask you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you want to say anything? Do you want to add anything?
I just want to point out, you're talking about being frightened. If you look at every single lamppost in this park, it is a flag that has co-opted the gay and lesbian rainbow flag and has turned it into something completely different. And it's terrifying. I'm terrified. This is the first time I've come out from behind a Twitter handle. I've done speeches and stuff, nothing that's videoed, but it's terrifying. I also work in the arts, and I have trans women friends whom I love deeply. And if they saw this, they may think, oh, she doesn't see me as a person, and I do. I just see you as a trans woman, not as a woman. So it's terrifying. I'm terrified that I'm going to lose my job over this, over saying that a woman is an adult human female and no man can be a woman.
We can blur your face out.
Nah, fuck it. I'm over it.
Do you have anything to add or say?
I've got a funny story.
Okay.
It's not very, very funny.
Should we put our foot on this?
No, she's all right. She's
Okay.
not going anywhere. Years and years ago, like 15 years ago, I was walking up to Newtown before all this was even a thing. And I was walking behind this amazing man, like 6 foot or something, in a dress. And I was just like looking at him, and he turns around and he goes, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "Your legs are amazing." And he goes, "Oh, thanks, doll." That's just a silly story. But I'm like, I wish we could go back to that.
I wish we could. I so wish we could.
Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I thought that was a great conversation, very honest and very, very open. I thought that was a really good conversation, and I'm hoping it's a conversation that others will model in terms of their honesty and sincerity. That's the goal. So.
Great having you.
So nice to meet you.
What's your name?